Welcome to the Breakfast Show on Faith FM. This is the best place to start your day with positive and uplifting thoughts. You're listening across Australia on 87.6, 87.8, or 88, depending on where you are. You can also text us at any time. 0491 064 669 is our text line. I am your host, Skafy, and I've have here with me my good friend, Livo. How are you, Livo?
Morning. Yeah, I'm doing really well.
Great to have you here with us in the studio. And of course, we have the never-failing producer, Shell, here. She's always showing up in the morning to make sure that the computers are turned on and everything's working well and proper. Good morning.
Good morning. Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, producer Shell, Dan, and all of our listening friends. We are very excited to start this new season. What are you looking forward to do in your new year? Do you have anything that you're looking forward to do then? Do you have New Year's resolutions?
I don't have New Year's resolutions per se, but I've got a lot of outstanding projects from last year that I haven't finished. So I'm keen to move forward on them.
Did you start them later in the year, or you're carrying them for a long time now?
No, later in the year. And I'm thinking mainly of projects around our property, like we're building a sauna at our pool. And,
nice.
Yeah, a few things like that. We're finishing off some fencing. That's like 90% done. So
okay, well, there's some really exciting things happening at the Livos.
Yeah.
Oh, for me, I started my New Year's quote unquote resolution a little bit earlier. So I want to run an Olympic triathlon this year.
Oh wow! Okay.
So I'm practicing for that. I'm training for that, and I haven't skipped the beat yet. So I've been going strong. But let's say I hope that I can keep it up with that. And let's start with a little bit of a gratitude. As our custom is, greeting one another with words of gratitude and thanksgiving. Actually, my Thanksgiving today is for children that love the Lord. I actually have a little story. In my holidays, my family and I, we were playing with the kids. We were playing like that yes. card game. We're playing that around.
My kids love it.
They like that one? Yeah. My kids like to, particularly for my youngest son, he's only 5. And at some period during that game, like he took like a massive blow. Like he was just like his hand was just like all the draw 4 cards, and he was just like he was really really way behind everyone, and everybody was kind of feeling sorry for him. It's like everybody's taking a bit of advantage here in the game of the young boy. But you know what? Everybody was pitying him. You know what he said? He said, "It's all right. Jesus is with me."
Huh.
And I thought, you know what, great attitude. And I think that I want to have the same attitude for 2026. No matter what cards came up into my hand this year, I want to say, you know what, that's okay. God is with me. That's the most important thing.
That's
the rest, it's all manageable.
Yeah, I love it.
Very good.
I'm grateful for a new puppy that we've got, and he went through the night, last night, without barking and waking up.
Oh, really?
And needed to go to the loo. But just as I was leaving this morning, he needed to go to the loo. So.
That is amazing. I cannot wait to hear more about your pup. What kind of breed is it?
It's a mixed breed, Maremma and Golden Retriever.
Wow, that's amazing.
It is a cool breed. Yeah.
Very good. Fantastic. Let me just get you what's coming up in today's show. We are going to be looking at a few Bible passages, Dan, that talk about something that has happened in the first day of the first month. Today's not New Year's Eve. It's not New Year's Day, but we're not too far away from it. And it's our New Year from the radio perspective. From our show.
It's the New Year's Day show for the radio.
So I thought, look, let's talk about it because this is the right time to talk about what are some of the things that happened in the first day of the first month in the Bible. Can we learn anything with them? So that's coming up in our More Like Him segment. Later on, we're going to have Justin Lawson joining us today. And I think he's going to be talking to us all about the Venezuela situation.
I'm keen to hear.
With Nicolas Maduro and being now in New York. And also, how do you create a personal mission statement for your life for this year? This and much more coming up in today's show. You cannot miss it.
You're listening to the Breakfast Show podcast on Faith FM. Positively different.
And before we jump into our Bible study, Dan, I would like to invite you to play a quiz game with me. Not only with me, but with all of our radio friends as well. Producer Shell, do you have a quiz question ready for us this morning?
I do indeed. Being that it's our first show of the year, I thought I would start with a first. Who is the first person in the Bible recorded as giving God a name? Who is the first
giving
person
God
in
a
the
name.
Bible who is recorded as giving God a name?
Very good. I actually never really thought about that one.
This is a tricky question
Let
for
me
me.
think here. Okay, in the meantime, while I'm trying to think here, Mr. Shell, how can our radio friends participate?
They can participate by playing along and texting us in on 0491 064 669. That number again, 0491 064 669. If you do not have that saved in your phone, you are going to want to. We do 5 quiz questions every show, and you want to text in your attempts or your dead on no, I know the answer. All of those sorts of things. I'm going to give you a hint.
I'm going to, look, let me just try with this. This is a bit
no
of a...
correct answers.
No correct answers. Okay. Did Dan and I give the
You
same
gave the
answer?
exact same answer.
So I think we're thinking the same wavelength here.
I'm going to give you a hint. It's connected to that person in a way, but it's certainly not that person.
Oh, okay. I think that tip is enough for me.
Okay. Yes.
All righty.
All right.
Okay.
So they texted in Abraham, and my hint is that it's connected with the Abraham story, but it is certainly not Abraham.
Okay.
Okay. So the quiz question one last time. Who is the first person in the Bible recorded as giving God a name?
What about
Okay.
you,
I'm
Dan? Any
stumped.
coins dropping?
No.
You're a bit stuck there?
I might just have a random guess.
Okay, have a
Yeah,
random guess
do it.
here. In the meantime, if you do know the answer to that one, 0491 064 669 is the number to text.
Should I give one more hint?
Yeah, one more time. Oh, well, another hint.
Yeah. No? Okay.
I think, look, I don't know. What do you think, producer Shell? Yeah, give a hint.
I want everyone to get it.
But
get it
if you
right.
give another hint, then I think it's going to make it so easy, depending
Well,
on
I'm
the
still
hint.
totally stumped. And my second guess was not right, I'm guessing. Yeah.
No. All right. It's a female.
Okay, yeah. It's a female.
Okay.
Very good. All right, let's move on here. By the way, today is the 7th day of January, if you're listening live, which means that you have an opportunity for you today. You have the opportunity to receive an amazing gift from Faith FM, but only if you were born in January. So sorry for everybody from all the other months, but you are going to have your turn. But if you were born in the month of January, text us in with your date of birth. And what we're going to do is we are going to say a special prayer for you. We're going to shout you out here on the radio, and you are going to get into a special draw at the end of the month, and you get to choose from one of some amazing gifts. We have gift cards, we have vouchers, we have Bibles, we have healthy board games. We have a whole lot of really amazing things. You can even request for dinner with, a host, or maybe a lunch. We can hang out with us. Up to you. It's your choice. But the only thing you need to do to enter this draw is to let us know what is your date of birth, only if it's in January. And you cannot enter for anyone else. You have to enter for yourself.
And my wife, you can't enter either because you're related to a host.
That's right. If you're related to any of us, I'm sorry. We'll treat you up later.
But it is Renee's birthday this month.
It is. Wow. Fantastic. So if you were born in January, let us know here and you will get into the draw 0491 064 669. Moving on then. You know what? I was always curious, or I do not know. Have you ever noticed how many times the Bible mentions events that happen in the first day of the first month of the year? Of course, according to the calendar that they used to use, the Hebrew calendar. But have you ever really paid attention to these passages?
To be honest, I haven't. I'm very curious. I'm looking forward to the fireworks.
Okay,
Are they fireworks on the first day? Maybe on the eve
I
of
would
the
say
first day
there.
of the-
I would say yes.
Yes,
I would
there's
say
fireworks?
spiritual fireworks.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
I'll say spiritual fireworks. And I found 5 instances, 5 occurrences in the Bible where the first day of the first months are mentioned. And I think that there is a very interesting personal application for each one of them. So we're going to be looking up at them today. Let's start with Genesis chapter 8 and verse 13. If you have that open up close to you, Dan, you can read that one for us. Genesis chapter 8 and verse 13.
All right. I'm going to guess this is part of the flood story.
It is part of the flood story. You guessed correctly.
All right, here we go. I'm going to read from Genesis 8, verse 13. And it came to pass in the 601st year, in the first month, the first day of the month, that the waters were dried up from the earth. And Noah removed the covering of the ark and looked, and indeed the surface of the ground was dry.
That's right. This is actually quite an amazing event that to have happened in the first day of the first month. So the story here, the context here is the worldwide global catastrophe, the flood that God sent as a judgment to the earth. The earth was as wicked as you can imagine. People's thoughts, their plannings, they were evil continually, according to the Bible. God has been sending the Holy Spirit to talk to people, try to convince them to stop pursuing evil for 120 years. That's how long Noah was working in building the ark. And for very little to no avail. When the time came for the flood, nobody believed in Noah's message, except for Noah and his own family.
And there'd never been rain. So why would you believe that this thing called a flood? Like, how's that going to happen?
Absolutely. That is a very, very good point. At that time, there was no rain. It didn't rain. By the way, so how did God, water the plants?
By a much heavier morning dew than we get now.
That's right, morning dew. And by the way, actually, in the agricultural world, people discover there's a lot of researchers and agronomists that they realize that actually, if you have a well-built agricultural system that mimics like a forest, like with different canopies and so on, just with the normal dew that we get, it is enough. To rain, to provide constant water. Because what happens is that with the dew, when you are in a forest setting with the ground covering and different layers of trees, what happens is that most of this water will actually get trapped under the covering of the ground, under all of these leaves, and it's not going to evaporate.
Whereas without that ground cover,
the ground cover, it just evaporates as soon as the sun goes down. But
I think you've been learning about syntropic agroforestry. Is that right?
That's a little hobby of mine. I do love learning about it.
You've shared about that on the radio.
We shared about it on the radio.
Awesome.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
And for those who do not know, syntropic agriculture is basically creating a garden. You're mimicking the dynamics of a forest. Basically, you're mimicking the design of the greatest garden designer of all times, which is God himself.
Our syntropic garden at our property, it's out of control.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
In a good way or in a bad way?
A bit of both. It's very productive.
Okay. Well, what have you been harvesting?
Lots of fruits and veggies. Like there's berries, there's peaches, there's lots of things. Yeah.
Amazing. So coming back here to the story of the flood. So God sent the flood. God sent this judgment. He says, look, if I don't do anything, and this is what a lot of people don't realize about the flood when I talk to them. The Bible's Jesus or God says this. When I say Jesus or God, because I believe that when God was interacting with people in the Old Testament was probably through Jesus. Okay?
Yep.
So it's interchangeable. And even if he was God the Father, the point that remains the same. God says this, I can see the end of all flesh before my eyes. In other words, saying, if I don't do anything, all flesh, meaning all humans and all animals, they are all going to go extinct. We were going to cause our own extinction prior to the flood, given the level of violence and the resources that we had. A lot of people think that when they read that part, he's talking about, no, God is going to cause the end of all flesh. No, because God did not cause the end of all flesh. He saved the human race, number one.
From self-destruction.
Yeah. He saved all the animals. He built an ark for that, and plus all the fishes and everything. So the reason why God sent the flood was was so that we couldn't be alive here today.
Absolutely.
So that humanity would not destroy itself, because that's where we were heading. And this is not, too far-fetched. I think that, have you read about that doomsday clock? That often,
totally.
There's a board of scientists and
it's
thinkers.
11:59 and something seconds.
That's right. I think we're at 11:59. Basically, it's like how close we are to the end of the world. There's nothing about the Bible here. It's completely talking
right.
about like nuclear threats and biological threats and all these kinds of things. So it is really not far-fetched to think that we as humans, we actually have, and today, different from the past, I think we have the resources today to annihilate the world a few times over.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If everybody decides to press all the nuclear buttons.
Yeah. It's, I'm just looking it up now. Doomsday clock is now at 90 seconds to midnight, the closest we've ever been to global.
No, how many? 90 seconds?
90 seconds.
Okay, so I have 90 seconds to breathe here, prophetically speaking.
Well, according to this humanist.
According to this.
But hey, look, it's consistent. I mean, it's consistent with the biblical picture of the bleakness of humanity and the world under human control. It just doesn't have the hope that the Bible gives. But that's the story of the flood, isn't it?
That's the story of the flood. God, when God brings judgment, when God is destroying life, it's only so that He can save life. That's the bottom line here. And He did that so that we as a human race could still exist. He didn't twist people's arms. Like people had 120 years just to make a very simple decision to step into the ark. That was all that they had to do. But they didn't. Most of them didn't, except for Noah. So there they were for 40 days and 40 nights. And the whole surface of the earth was covered with waters, the Bible say. And interesting enough, we know there's some very interesting evidence in that regard. We people often find in some of the highest mountains, in some of the highest mountain peaks, including Mount Everest, actually, a lot of fossils of fishes and mollusks and sea creatures. Which to me, I think this speaks volumes about the evidence of a worldwide flood. If you can find mollusks and fish and sea creature fossils at the top of Mount Everest, man, I mean, right? What does that say? At some point, that was under the water.
Yeah.
But what happens that after the 40 days and 40 nights, and I think that this number is that it was raining, in the first day of the first month of the year, the waters were dried up from the earth. And Noah, for the first time, was able to remove the covering of the ark, like the roof of the ark. And indeed, the surface of the ground was dry. What do you make of that, Dan? What do you think that there's any applications here that we can...
Fresh start.
Yeah.
It's a New Year's Day, fresh start. There's everything's green. It's a new start for the plants.
That's right.
And there's a verse in Lamentations that talks about something is fresh and new every morning.
God's mercies.
Exactly. Yeah.
God's mercies, God's chesed.
Yeah.
His loving kindness, His faithfulness is renewed every morning.
Yeah.
That's right. It's definitely a symbol, I believe, here for a new beginning. And I think that for us as Christians, we're walking. We constantly need for fresh beginnings, don't we? Perhaps it's a fresh beginning after a difficult season. And the first day of the first month symbolizes God saying, hey, you know what? It's okay. We're going to start over. It might have been for our own personal moral failure. It might be because we have been victims of something that it was greater than us. But God says, look, you know what? Guess what? There's a new beginning here. You can take the covering off the ark, and you see it's distant, but there's some land. And look, Noah didn't immediately go to that land. Let's see what happens there. Can you read verse 14 for us?
I've got to get back there. All right, verse 14 says, and in the second month, on the 27th day of the month, the earth was dried. That's
right. So it took about almost 2 months before the earth was dried.
So it says on the first day of the first month, the surface of the ground was dry. And then a couple of months later, the earth was dry.
That's right. So he started to see, I think the way that I'm seeing is that he started to see there was some dry patches, probably some of the taller exposed areas. But then it wasn't until about a month and 20-something days later, 27 days later, almost 2 months later, that you could actually see a greater surface of the earth exposed and dry and probably...
And ready to go inhabit.
That's right. Yeah. Be inhabitable. And I think that speaks volumes about hope here, because God says to Noah, hey, Noah, look, there's something in the horizon here. There's land. And sometimes between seeing that land and being able to actually step on that land, it may take some time. But I think that God gives us this hope. So if you are in need today of a new beginning, if you come from a season where you felt that you went through the floods of God's judgment.
Of 2025.
2025. Maybe
But hey, new beginnings can be any time of the year.
Can be any time of the
this
year.
This is a good reminder.
It's a reminder,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Remember that story anytime that you need
Yeah,
a new beginning. Because sometimes you are in the middle of that, the rain. You're in the middle of the. I was talking to a man in the airplane that I took, and his life was upside down. His job wanted to kick him out. His girlfriend was breaking up with him. And I talked to him, look, it looks like you really need some fresh beginnings here. And the good thing is that God offers us fresh beginnings every single day. And with these fresh beginnings, that gives us hope and strength to move on. So what are the new fresh beginnings that you need today? Look out. I believe that God has that land already prepared for you.
You're listening to the Breakfast Show podcast on Faith FM. Positively different.
And we are now going to reveal the answer to our previous quiz question.
Yeah, I'm curious. I was stumped.
Okay.
I'm still stumped.
I think that once you hear the answer, you're going to say, oh, of course it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
If you want to turn in your Bible to Genesis chapter 16 and verse 13, you can
And what was the question again?
the answer there. Who is the first person in the Bible recorded as giving God a name? Do you want to read that one for us? Genesis 16 and verse 13.
It still doesn't identify who the her is. I think it's talking about Sarah. Okay, then she called the name of the Lord who spoke to her, "You are the God who sees." For she said, have I also here seen him who sees me?
Okay, it's Hagar, not Sarah.
It
but
is
yeah.
Hagar. Okay, all right, okay.
Yeah.
Hagar. That she was the first one who gave God a title. Very interesting.
Yep.
Very interesting. Well, David sent in the right answer, and
good on you.
Yeah, good on you, David. And he said, "Hey, very happy and blessed welcome to 2026 for producer Shell, Skafy, and Levo." Thank you very much, David. And he says, "Hey, that he has 2 daughters that were born in January. One of them is turning 38. This is the oldest daughter, and the 6th child, she will be 28." In January. So happy birthday for both of them in
wow.
advance.
It's my sister's birthday today.
That's your sister's birthday today. Oh,
Yeah.
happy
Well,
birthday
it's-
to her.
She's in America, so it's
So
not
it'll be
quite
tomorrow.
not quite the 7th yet for
Yes,
her,
but almost.
it's the 7th.
Oh,
yeah.
that's amazing. There you go. Thank you so much, David. And we wish both of your daughters an amazing year as well as they celebrate their birthdays with you in January. Producer Shaw, do we have another quiz question?
Yes, of course we do.
Okay.
Shortly after Israel's exodus, they camped at Elim, where there were 12 springs of water. And how many palm trees?
Oh,
Yeah.
you've
I'm
stumped
giving
me
you some
again.
hard ones today.
Ah,
Shortly after Israel's exodus, they camped at Elim, where there were 12 springs of water and how many palm trees? Not enough. Not enough. Okay, you both are going way too low.
way too low.
Way
Okay.
too low.
Order of magnitude too low?
Pardon?
Order of magnitude too low? Like, do I need to add a 0?
No, you do not need to add a 0. No.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, this is my second attempt. If I do not cut it with this one, I'll just have to wait for the answer.
Both incorrect again. Sorry.
Are we at least closer?
You're still too low, Skafy,
I'm still
and you've
too
gone
low.
too high.
I've gone too high. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
bye-bye.
Okay. Danny's the optimistic here in the team, and I'm the pessimistic.
I'm assuming the syntropic agroforestry principles, and they're just the palm trees that's going
It's
out of
everywhere. They're spreading like wildfire. Well, we'll find out in the next segment here when at the end of this segment when producer Show shares with us the answer. How many palm trees were at the oasis at Elim? There were 12 springs of waters, and how many palm trees? That's a great question. I'm keen to look at for the answer to that one. Then let's come back here. Let's come back to our Bible study. So we spoke about the first one about,
the first day of the
new
first
beginnings,
month.
new beginnings, hope, difficult season. God's judgment, and God, after this season of judgment, a different season, he says, hey, you know what? The first day symbolizes the first beginnings. And it doesn't need to be just the first day of the first month or of any month. It can be any real day. But the first day of the first month carries with it that symbolism.
And it's a reminder, isn't it?
It is a reminder.
Everyone's talking about New Year's resolutions, and we're doing resets. We're clearing out the old, all the old junk that's accumulated on our desk or wherever in our room. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, the next passage is in the book of Exodus. So chapter 40 and verse 2, if you can open up your Bible there.
Exodus 40 and verse 2.
Yeah.
Do you want me to read it out for you?
Yes, please.
All right.
Well, you can read from verse 1. Just read chapter 40, verses 1 and verse 2.
Okay. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, on the first day of the first month, you shall set up the tabernacle of the tent of meeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
The second.
Does that mean every year?
No. This is
The first time it was set up.
Yeah, the first time that it was set up, the inauguration of the tabernacle of God's dwelling with people. Say, hey, you know what? When we're going to do this, the first day of the first month.
Fresh start.
Fresh start
with
again.
God in the camp,
Isn't it
in
quite
the temple,
quite amazing
in the
that
sanctuary,
God
the
chose that date of all dates?
Awesome. Yeah.
So people were already reminding, we're talking about fresh beginnings. Now God is choosing to dwell, to live with humanity, and he set up a tent to live with them, and the date of that setup of the tent was also the first of the first month. Yeah. What do you think that we can, that can symbolize for us? What kind of fresh start are we talking about here?
So the purpose of the tabernacle was, according to Exodus 25, verse 8, let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them. So the new start that we can look to implement in our lives. We may not be able to build a tabernacle, a temple or a sanctuary, but we can make sure that God is dwelling with us at the start of this year. We can do that through spending time with him, spending time in the Word, spending time in prayer. There's lots of things that we can continue in or establish new habits in to make sure that God is dwelling with us.
Absolutely. Oh, I love it. I love it, Daniel. Because, first day of the first month, it's a reminder to say, hey, am I prioritizing the relationship with God in my life? And in the same way that God, commanded a little structure to be set up so it could facilitate that relationship between God and the people. So that tabernacle was very important because it did a few things. Number one, God's visible presence was anchored at that tabernacle.
Yeah.
Inside of the tabernacle, there was the glory of God, the Shekinah glory, that this supernatural light that comes. But also throughout the days, there is a pillar of cloud and a pillar of fire in there, and they were anchored around the tabernacle. There was like this massive pillar of cloud coming from the top of the tabernacle.
Yeah.
And then, extending its shade over the people. So I think there's a point that we could also make here. What kind of structures do we want to set up in the new year that will also help us to enhance our relationship with God? What kind of habits, routines?
Yeah, I'm thinking there's even a place for a physical structure that we go to every morning for our time with God.
Okay. Can you elaborate more on that one? Do you have something like that, or have you done something like that?
So I go to a particular place in the house for my devotional time with
kind
God.
Of a prayer room or something?
But I could improve that. Like there's opportunity to maybe go outside, and there's plenty of places on our property that I could dedicate that this is my daily time to spend with God early in the morning, out, away from distractions of the house.
That's right.
Away from the phone, the screens, and things like that. At the moment, I go to my desk, which is at the other end of the house from my room, and just spend time with God at my desk. But there's some distractions there, so maybe it is a good time for me to think, you know what? Let's set up
Let's
little
improve the
tabernacle.
structures. Yeah, improve the structures. Look, to me, one of the things that I started to do, I wanted to get back into the habit of memorizing scriptures. And I just really enjoy doing that. It's something that I have done pretty much my entire Christian life, on and off, here and there. Sometimes I was more disciplined, sometimes not. But that was definitely a habit that fell out for me. So, you know what? I want to do it. And particularly, I want to be intentional about doing it at other times where I would be scrolling through my phone, for example, or just doing nothing. So, for example, here, if I'm walking somewhere or if I'm waiting somewhere, I want to open up a Bible verse that I'm interested in, a Bible verse that caught my attention, and I want to be starting just to memorize it. Maybe before going to bed, memorize it a little bit more. So I really want to bring the scripture memorization back into my daily habits this year.
That's another little tabernacle. It's not so much a physical structure, but it's a structure for
in time.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. Structure in time, structure to do. What? Yes. And what about you, radio friend? Do you have any structure, any habit that you would like to start this year that will help you connect with God in a deeper level, in a more intentional way?
You've challenged me, Skafy, on that one. I also have had periods of my life where I've been good at memorizing. In fact, I memerized the whole Sermon on the Mount.
Oh, nice.
Matthew 5, 6, and look, this, for...
Do you still have remnants of that in your memory?
I could brush up and get that, kind of together.
Great.
And there's such a blessing in doing that. People in biblical times would, memorize the whole Old Testament. So me memorizing 3 chapters sounds great, but it's really not that great.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, in my adventures in memorizing the Bible, once I memorized the first chapter of Revelation.
Yeah.
So that was fun. I memorized just the Beatitudes, so not the entire Sermon on the Mount, even though now that you're saying this, it's kind of the entire Sermon of the Mount would be really cool.
It is.
To have memorized.
It's so packed full of relevant things to everyday life that, I often just think of the verse from the Sermon on the Mount relevant to a situation.
I once memorized Psalm
91?
No, Isaiah chapter 53.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Psalm 91 is one that I have memorized, but not because not in the traditional way of memorizing, but I learned a scripture song of Psalm 91.
Yeah,
and that one is fairly
way.
fresh in my mind,
right.
and it's very easy to. And sometimes I just like to sing it along. I have a couple of psalms memorized through songs. I think I mentioned there's an artist that I really appreciate. Her name is Esther Mui. And by the way, if you'd like to get a link for Esther Mui's songs, particularly Psalm 91, since you mentioned that, just text me here and 0491 064 669. I can send you the link. And she has some really amazing songs based on Psalms. So that's my little structure that I want to focus. And this, I think, it's an important thing. There's so much we can do. Perhaps starting a Bible reading plan. Perhaps, being more intentional about attending church. There's statistics that come. I think in Australia, we have broken the record of weekly church attendance since COVID.
Right.
So we're back to pre-COVID era now. We're still short from some historical highs or from the beginning of the millennium. But I think that something with like 1.35 million Australians are saying that they attended church on a weekly basis.
Awesome.
So that's being tracked.
So that's another tabernacle that we can establish in our lives at now at the beginning, at the first day of the first month.
That's right.
Or any time in the year. But it's a good reminder,
That's right.
isn't it?
Have the church attendance. It's a great way to connect with God, to connect with God's people, to serve the community, to serve God's people, to serve the community around you. So that's another structure. So God gave us a number of small little structures, but they all help. And my thing is, don't go overboard with it.
Right.
Just choose like something small that is attainable that you can start. And once that thing becomes part of your daily life, then you can add to it. It's about really, when you look at elite athletes in various areas, they don't want to become 10% faster overnight. They want to just become 1% better every day.
Yeah.
So just like, what is the next goal? What is the next little thing that I can do here? Well, for example, today my plan is I'm going to have my breakfast. I'm going to sit and try to look at some nature, some trees, and while I'm eating my breakfast, I'm going to be trying to work on a passage that I am memorizing, which is Psalm 1.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's great.
So there you go. The second passage about first day of the first month. This was the day that God decided that he was going to set up a tabernacle to dwell with the people of Israel, right up in Exodus chapter 40 and verse 2. I think we have the time for one more then. 2 Chronicles chapter 29 and verse 17.
All right.
That's an interesting one.
Looking for that now. 2 Chronicles 29 verse 17. Now they began to sanctify on the first day of the first month, and on the 8th day of the month they came to the vestibule of the Lord. So they sanctified the house of the Lord in 8 days. And on the 16th day of the first month, they finished.
Keep reading to verse 19.
Then they went in to King Hezekiah and said, "We have cleansed all the house of the Lord, the altar of burnt offerings with all its articles, and the table of the showbread with all its articles. Moreover, all the articles which King Ahaz in his reign had cast aside in his transgression, we have prepared and sanctified, and there they are before the altar of the Lord."
That's right. So King Hezekiah in that story, he initiated a cleansing and a rededication of the temple, the first day of the first month.
Yeah. So it's the same thing that was set up. Well, not the same instance of it, but the same type of structure that we just looked at in Exodus 40 is now being rededicated and restored on the same day, the first day of the first month.
Absolutely. And I like here how it uses the word, we have cleansed all the house of the Lord. Because sometimes it's not so much really that you want to start a new thing, but sometimes you actually want to stop something. You want to do some kind of cleansing in your life. What is it that needs purging out of your life? What is it that you need to cleanse out of your life that is actually getting in between you and the Lord?
I like it. These are great verses. So, I'm really curious what the next two are, but let's dig into this cleansing. That's great.
That's right. So look, I think we're beginning of the new season. What are some of the things that I want to cleanse? For example, in my case, I mentioned to you that one of my goals, and I'm doing this because I want to glorify God. I believe that when I'm taking care of my body, I'm glorifying God because that allows me to have a sharper mind, that allows me to have a greater health so I can have more energy to serve the Lord. So that's my motivation ultimately for my exercise. But one of the things that I want to do is, look, I want to stop overeating. So much, or eating the wrong kinds of foods, and start becoming, and so this is something that I want to be cleansing out of my life. Say, hey, you know what? I actually want to be, and look, it takes, there is a cost to it. But the way that I see it is, you know what? Whenever I'm cleansing something, whenever I'm doing something that is cutting on my flesh, so to speak, I'm saying, hey, God, this is an offering for you. This is a gift for you.
That's a great way.
What about you? Do you have something
to cut out of my life?
Yeah, that you want to cut out.
Look, I think the challenge for me is that I try to squeeze too much into life. Yeah. That there's so much that I need to cut, and good things that I need to remove to make room for the better things. And that's something that this idea of cleansing and reprioritizing, reordering.
Yes. So the busyness.
Yeah, the busyness,
and really be more intentional about how you're spending your time.
Yeah.
That's a great one. So there you go. We looked into 3 instances in the Bible where God did something new. We spoke about new beginnings in the story of Noah. We spoke about prioritizing the relationship with God and setting up small little structures to help us in that. And we're also talking about how King Hezekiah commanded and gave directions for a cleansing in the first day of the first month, and that also can be applied to our lives. There are 2 more Bible passages that I have selected that will add 2 more things that you can incorporate into your life or in this new season that's starting up with the new year. But if you would like to get to know, we don't have the time to cover it all today, but I have prepared a small little PDF here, and with almost like a checklist of this, with these 5 texts, and with each of these texts, I have a little explanation about them and a little spiritual application. So if you'd like to get that resource, it's very easy. You can text me to 0491 064 669. Say the words with #first day, and I'll send that resource to you. How about that?
You're listening to the Breakfast Show podcast on Faith FM. Positively different.
We're not going to give the answer to the quiz question. I think that David again struck the right one here in our text line, right?
So the answer was
70.
That's correct.
70 palm trees. There you go.
I should have
Sounds like a lovely oasis.
It does sound like a lovely oasis, yes.
I went from 40 to 100. I should have stayed with biblical numbers, shouldn't I? 70.
Okay. I started with 12. I thought maybe there was like one palm tree next to each spring of water. And then it was too late. So I said, okay, I'll get bolder. And I say 30. But it's still way short of the 70. Not bold enough. 70 palm trees. There you go.
Right. That's mentioned in Exodus chapter 15.
Yes. Which I think there's definitely some very biblical numbers there, because you have like the 12 tribes or the 12 apostles. You have the 70 elders.
Yeah, right.
So the kind of the 70 palm trees are drinking from this 12. You know, if you want to be an elder, you have to drink from the writings of the apostles. I'm just going a little bit,
getting deep.
Just getting a little bit deep here. I love to play with these biblical numbers. It's always a good fun.
Yeah.
Very good.
I love it.
So today in today's show, we are going to still cover a lot of ground. We're just starting. This was just our first hour. So if this is the first time tuning in to our radio station, this is Faith FM, and this is the Breakfast Show. We go every single day, Daniel, for 3 hours. Don't you know that?
Yeah.
3 days. It's live. We're not recorded, not AI operated, no robots here, just real people, real flesh and blood with all its glory and problems that come with it. But it's real, right? We pray to God and say, God, please help us do the show.
Yeah.
So if you just tuned in, wow, stay with us. We have 2 more hours of show with you. One of the things that I'm going to be talking about is how do you create a personal mission statement for your life?
Yeah,
and why is that even an important thing? It's something that you should look into. Perhaps you've never looked into that. Perhaps you want to refresh into it. So that's coming up. Justin Lawman is coming up. We're going to be talking about politics today and how it's relating to Bible prophecy, including the greatest event that everybody is talking about at the moment, which is the United States capture of Nicolas Maduro.
That's it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing what he says about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for being a part of the Faith FM family. Join our community on Facebook or get in touch at 1-800-FAITH-FM.